Corvallis is going to be the site of the homecoming game. Benny is back. Bernice is back. Oregon State hosting UNLV. They are almost a touchdown underdog at home after getting the brakes beat off them by Nevada.
I think it's north of a touchdown now.
Has it gone over 7?
When we did it yesterday, it was 7.5.
That's right, it was.
Yeah, it's north of a tutty.
Boy, it was 5 on Monday, so that tells me that the money is coming in and down my beeves.
Pouring in on UNLV.
Look, I don't know if they win, Dirt. What I can tell you is this is the only way we as fans and media can react to what we see is these are real good spots for coaches to kind of show us who they are.
Yeah.
Now, we played Bray audio earlier in the week where he talked about it's not a talent problem. Dirt says that's kind of coach speak. I get it. Should be getting a guy or two back from the injury list. But I think this is a big spot for Beaver fan to just say, what is my coach? I'm not necessarily saying you need to win. But, do you get close to winning? Do you get an upset home win? Do you right the ship? Do you look better substantially defensively than what you did against Nevada? Because it may not define Trent Bray's coaching era, but me as a Beaver alum, I'm really interested to see this come Sunday morning because I'm going to a concert, watching this game and saying, how do I feel about Oregon State's coach? Because right now, it's all a big unknown, unsure. And I think these are big prove-it weekends for coaches early on in tenures.
Here's what I will say. I don't disagree with anything that you're saying, and he needs to show you a lot this weekend. The biggest question I have is how many of those defenders are back? Is it 2, so you're only out 15 of the 22? Is it 5, so you got 12 of the 22 that are out? That's the first question that I have to ask. If you get a chunk of them back and you're down 8 or 9, then I think there's a little more pressure on you to say, okay, you got a little bit of your depth back, you got some pieces back. Now let's see what you can do defensively. Oregon State has been a much better team at home for however many years now than they've been on the road. A lot of the numbers on paper tell you that this game's not going to be close. UNLV can run the ball, and Oregon State gave up 5,000 rushing yards in Nevada last week. Their quarterback can actually throw the football. Nevada's quarterback could not throw the football last week.
And he did anyway.
Their rush defense, which is undoubtedly the strength in what Oregon State wants to do on offense. The UNLV's rush defense is far and away the best in the Mountain West this year. They're giving up less than 100 rushing yards a game. One of the biggest things that I will circle for a guy who I know has been criticized and questioned, and is that the player they should keep there? For the first 4 games of the year, Giovanni McCoy did not throw an interception. Threw a bad one against Colorado State, and then he threw 4 last week. I only counting 3 because one of them was a Hail Mary at the end of the game, but one of them was a pick 6 that completely changed the feeling and the dynamic of that game. A late throw on an out route, which is just a no-no for a quarterback, and he doesn't have the arm strength to get it there in time.
Yeah.
You can't do that. And if you throw a couple of picks and he turns the ball over and he plays loosey-goosey with it, and you're struggling to run the football maybe the way that you wanted to coming in, this to me has a lopsided outcome written all over it.
Sure.
But that's it. I understand the point on Bray. I also think it's one of those. I'm caught in between of wanting to be fair to him of their roster was so decimated in the offseason that the biggest thing that they lost was depth. And if you go through that many injuries, if you're playing tight ends again Saturday night at defensive end, I don't know how you win this football game.
Okay, so coach speak is a real thing. We know that. You can certainly respond, well, what is he supposed to say?
Yeah.
But it's also not a good look to come out and say there's not a lack of talent, that it's just gap discipline, that it's just assignment football is the fix here. Because if you get ran all over again, I'm just supposed to, well, you're injured. Well, but the coach isn't echoing that. The coach is basically saying, no, we don't lack for talent. We just weren't on our assignments. You can certainly say, what else are you supposed to say? I would say, don't say that. Don't say don't have a lack of talent and it's only assignment football that needs to be fixed. The other part of this, and it's a little unfair to Bray, but again, he signed up to be the head coach. Even if you're decimated, the unfortunate nature of this is that everybody kind of looked at this year, even if it was really unrealistic, and said how important it is for you to be good and relevant. If you get the brakes beat off you by UNLV at home on your homecoming night,
with the Benny logo back too,
we've already talked about that. I don't look at their schedule and circle a whole lot of wins.
No.
So it's not even that you would just go to 4-3. it would be, I don't know if you're a bowl team. I would be wondering if you're a bowl team.
Yeah, you go to Cal the next week,
Which,
and Cal is feisty, not easy to beat.
Cal's record does not indicate who they are.
You have pointed out San Jose State, who has been better than people have given them credit for early in the season. Air Force sucks, so that should be a win, but it's on the road. And
that was about it, I think.
Felt that way about Nevada, because Nevada also sucks, so that's the tough part with that one.
You don't lose to a choke.
And then you close with Washington State and Boise State.
And those don't look like good games for you on paper because of the matchup problems. So my point is, like, it may be unfortunate, not fair to him, but the injuries compile with losses in what felt like a very important year to be like 9-3 or 10-2 at a minimum. Now goes from like, maybe 8-4, maybe 7-5, maybe not even bowling.
Yeah, can you get to a bowl game?
And that's why this weekend's important for me. He's saying it's not a lack of talent, it's just assignment football. Okay. I was willing to give the injury thing, but if you're going to say that,
yeah, it's a fair point.
Let's see what it's going to be. And if they get ran out of their own building by UNLV after getting the brakes beat off them by Nevada, Wolf, buzz your girlfriend. I don't know what's exciting about that.
Yeah, they've had back-to-back games now where a couple of weeks ago you beat Purdue the way that you did, and the final score was a little misleading about how even close that game was. That was a dominant win
Purdue
for
had
Oregon
like a
State.
backdoor touchdown.
It was like 38-14, and they scored a touchdown with a couple of minutes to go. And you followed that up with a game that went to double overtime against the Colorado State team at home, who I didn't think was very good coming in. And then you lost a game that I didn't think you had any business losing. Now, if you're healthy, I still think you beat Nevada. If you have half of those guys back defensively, I think that you win that game. It's just the big question that I have, man. And we're never going to know. I wish that football programs and coaches would get to the point of acknowledging injuries, because it would make so much of this stuff more understandable. Of going into this game, if I told you, all right, they're out 17 of their 22 too deep on defense. If I tell you going into the game tomorrow night that 13 of those guys are still out, how you feeling about the game?
Right.
You're probably not feeling great, but if you say, hey, we should get some bodies back, we're feeling a little bit healthier, we just got to get our assignments cleaned up, then you kind of talk yourself into this, and then you turn the game on at 7 when it kicks off, and you're like, 2 of those guys are back, and that's all. Everybody else is still out. Well, I'm not going to give you much of a chance to win that game, so I think it would help his argument just knowing how many guys are out, but massive weekend for them, man, because I'm with you. The disappointment of the loss last week, if you turn around and you win tomorrow night at home, it doesn't wash away losing to Nevada.
But it does restore some confidence in coaching.
All right, we're doing all right, and then maybe things will be okay.
Right.
We can still get to 8 or 9 wins, but this is a really tough matchup, and I don't know if you get the UNLV look-ahead factor, because they do have Boise next week. I think they want to beat these former Power 4 schools, and they want to make a statement of, we're good enough to hang with these programs, and I think they're going to come in ready to go.
I also know enough Beaver fans in my life that aren't on the internet or the text lines sounding off all day that are like, this is kind of a, not make or break per se, but just like, man, if they don't do a certain thing, it's just going to not feel great at all going forward.
Well, I think just from the simple point of
I was told they're
support.
recruiting worse than when they recruited with Jonathan Smith, and he didn't recruit well.
Well, yeah.
And that's like, just in itself, hearing that, I was like, oh, God, we're going to be out-recruited by Washington State and Boise State.
It's tough, man. And I think the other thing, too, that you're desperate for is fans attending games and buying tickets and funneling money back in.
Yes.
And if you get blown out tomorrow night, then you go on the road to Cal. Let's say you lose that game as well.
You follow the 4-4 with 3 straight losses the way that it may set up.
I can't imagine ticket sales are hotcakes for San Jose State the week after that.
No.